Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the Close Call Show with me, Jay. Today, there's an interesting episode that's brewing and waiting for you. Today, we're going to talk about a founder who's building something really cool and integrated in the personal health space. I am personally excited because, there's been a lot of buzz going on around about biohacking, personal health. The hustle culture is no longer the thing. I also want to touch on this. So, and for anyone that's listening, thank you so much. For anyone that knows the Close Call Show, really appreciate the support. But share it with your friends if you really like it, and also let us know what you liked, what you didn't like about this show. So I'm very excited for this episode. So without much further ado, welcome to the show, Eva. Let's kick this off with a little bit of introduction about yourself. Why did you get into entrepreneurship, and why Macromo?
Hello, everybody. Great to meet you. So, my name is Eva. I'm from Czech Republic, and I co-founded Macromo. But maybe a little background about myself. I used to work as a product designer. I was a lead product designer at DoorDash, and I live in between Europe and Silicon Valley. So, I would say I was always very close to tech. And one of my other passions was to track my health data. So what I did is to do, I think I did like one of those first whole genome sequencing tests from Nebula. I was wearing continuous glucose monitor, which is basically a device that you implant into yourself. It has a needle and it continuously measures your blood glucose. And I did all sorts of different tests. And well, I stored all of this data into my iCloud folder, which was getting bigger and bigger, all of these blood tests and different kind of things. Um, and the best way to try to find different relationships between this data back then was to create an Excel sheet and try to Google. And I guess we all understand that this is not the best approach and that tracking biomarkers in Excel is not the best experience one can have. So this led us to create Macromo because everybody who is in a health and wellness these days has a certain problem of what is the single place where I store all of my health data? How can I gain deep insights based on different data types? And yeah, there are people who have a medical background and can like orient in this type of data, but I didn't have that. So I would say that I felt stressed out about my health data from time to time because I couldn't see the whole picture. So that's briefly about me.
Super interesting. So you sort of had a problem. You wanted to track your own personal health data. There were no solutions out there in the market, so you decided to create something on your own. So one thing that always intrigues me about founders are everyone, goes through life with certain pain points. They all have some sort of problem, but then very few people act on that and they want to start something. So was that pain, the personal pain point, enough to start a company because it's a lot of hard work, or did you actually identify a market opportunity?
The thing about me is that I always had a lot of side projects in addition to my day-to-day work. So, I wrote a book about product design. I started like multiple companies and all of them failed. For instance, with my current co-founder, we had this business that was doing protein gummies. So basically, the
Oh,
idea was
interesting.
simple: you add protein powder into a gummy bear and then you have a tasteful snack. You don't need to do the shake and so on. It ended up being a huge fail because it tasted like sand, like it was disgusting. So nobody wanted to buy that or use the product. So you know Macromo at the beginning was one of those things. Our like initial idea was to take research of my co-founder, which was related to using machine learning for identifying diseases early based on multiple factors, and create a commercial version of it. So for like 4 months, we were in this mode where we were just doing it as a side project. And then, we became more and more serious about the company.
I also want to sort of ask you about your motto, because I've seen your pitch, and I've also seen your other YouTube video where you really talk about what is the motto behind Macromo. So tell us a bit about the motto, and also how can people access Macromo? What sort of services do you have?
So Macromo has a simple mission. We want to add 10 healthy years to your life.
Whoa.
And we want to do that by making sure you focus on basics. So that's sleep, nutrition, exercise, and early prevention. So that's our motto. How we do that is that we created a single app which acts as your health data wallet. So you can import your existing tests by either uploading a PDF or scanning printed test results. You can upload your DNA test results and also answer a couple of questionnaires about your medical history. So once you have all of your data at our platform, you start to get personalized recommendations into the feed. And you can also purchase our at-home tests, which are available in the entire European Union. So we provide tests for DNA, for blood, and for gut microbiome, which makes us a provider with the widest selection on the market. And we also have the fastest turnaround time. So in essence, we serve as a single place for all of your tests and provide testing services as well. And what sets us apart, now you can think about, okay, I will take my blood results, which I have from my doctor, and I
Mhm.
will upload it to ChatGPT to, explain me what I'm
Yeah.
seeing. So the difference between Macromo and uploading it to an LLM is that we, over the last 3 years, we created quite extensive database of different biomarkers, which creates a large context about a user or a person, which then, through our proprietary algorithm, can create recommendations that are looking at a person in more complete way. So not just to this one test, but to all of the tests and all of the other health data that are on the platform.
Wow, fantastic. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect all the links to these tests and put it in the description or show notes. Anyone who's listening or watching can access, test out, and really anyone curious can go and, um, yeah, get to know more. So, on that note, let's sort of launch into the meat of the podcast, which is talking about the business, talking about the challenges. So, I know Macromo, there's a software and AI, the most powerful AI part, which is doing the soft bit, and there's also the kits which needs to be produced somewhere, bought, sent. There's logistics involved. So tell us a bit about your business model. Yeah, so let's start with that.
So we are a B2C company, which is not very popular among the VCs these days.
Yeah.
so
Yes.
so that wasn't smart. But yeah, the primary business model right now is through sales of the at-home tests. These tests have about 66% margin on average. Um, and there are ways to optimize it and make it cheaper for the customers and make the margin higher. So we are working on that. The secondary business model we are now implementing is in-app subscription, because
Mm.
right now the app has a lot of features. You can use it without tests, so it makes sense to monetize the app alone. Additional to this B2C business is that we work with some businesses as a B2C enabler, which means
Mhm.
that we are white labeling those at-home test kits. We are providing bioinformatics services and so on. These are one-off contracts based on what is the need of that specific partner. But yeah, if you buy some of these at-home test kits, they could look like from a different company, but they are our test kits. So that's what we do.
Super interesting. So you were right when you sort of started with saying you have a B2C model, and it's not the most popular model in the market, especially if you want to be a VC funded, VC root startup or business in Europe. So in spite of this difficulty or challenge, how do you ensure that Macromo? I know you've raised a really big pre-seed round. There's something happening with Macromo every other day when I see the LinkedIn updates. You guys are constantly updating and innovating. So what's the secret to that? And let's dig also a little bit into the unit economics, because software easy to scale, but there's a hardware piece or a physical piece that's involved there. So I want to know, how do you think about your unit economics? How do you set a benchmark, or how do you change it based on changing business needs?
So where to start? Maybe let's start. Let's start from the B2C business model. Yeah, like it's not the most popular thing to. That's like for sure. Like if you are B2C company, then you will hear a lot of no's from VCs. So, for instance, for our seed round, we talked with I think 250 VCs, and about 30% of them, that's like a lot of people said like, no, we won't talk to you because you don't have a B2B business model. So that resulted in us not fundraising the seed round. Yeah, I think we can talk about that in the failure or challenges side. But it's true that we raised over 1 million per seed round with pretty nice valuation, given we are in Europe. And I think we were able to do that because we were able to bring on board investors who see our vision and who feel the same pain as we do as founders. That means that health data are all over the place, sometimes even printed on papers, and nobody knows what's going on. And this brings a lot of issues. It makes doctors less effective, brings a lot of, I would say, personal pain for some of these individuals. And so that's how we were able to fundraise such a nice pre-seed round. When it comes to the physical products, we collaborate. So maybe let's unpack how it works. There are test kits, and these test kits are sent to customer. Then customer collects their sample, and then it's returned to our partner laboratory, and then we get the digital data, process it, and display it in the app. So each of these steps is highly optimized at this point. So when it comes to the fulfillment of kits and creation of these kits, this is handled by an external fulfillment partner. So we don't do that. We found a very reliable partner who is able to serve the entire EU. And these test kits, they are essentially a paper box with some tubes inside. And these sample tubes can be bought in very large quantities because it's the same as hospitals use. So, having thousands of paper boxes and thousands of lab tubes, it's not a problem. And the fact that we are not doing our logistics also makes it very easy. Then the sampling part. So when you want to return a sample, you can order a courier pickup in our app. So DHL courier will come and pick up your sample from you. So you don't need to pay for anything, handle anything. You just order a courier and hand it over to them. And then our system automatically selects the laboratory where the sample should be delivered. And we collaborate with a lot of laboratories, and a lot of them are highly automated. That means they receive the sample, they process it, they give us the digital data. And so for Macromo as a company, we never see the physical products. And it took us 2 years to get to the point where we don't see the physical products. So I would say in scaling, it's pretty reliable because these laboratories process millions of samples every week. So I personally don't worry about scaling this side of business.
I have two questions there. So I'm happy to hear that it took you 2 years to optimize the process, and now we are at the part where everything is smooth and it's easy to scale. But have you ever thought about building any part of this logistics in house? And if yes, why yes? And now you've clearly not done that. You've outsourced it, or have relationship with partners. So how did you make that decision? Is it a cost decision, or is it a scalability uh, decision? So what was the lever that made you choose between this or that?
So, I'd like to say that Macromo is a deep tech data processing company. We don't want to build our own warehouses. We don't want to handle any physical products and logistics. We, just really want to focus on working with health data, and providing as accurate recommendations as we can. So it was more of an focus issue. And also, I would like to mention that if Macromo would be founded today or maybe in 3 years, it would be easier to gain access to these different kinds of health data. But 3 years ago, there were almost like no providers of
No one,
this
nothing. Yeah.
testing in Europe.
Yeah.
So that's sort of made us to provide the solution for how people can get health data right, because if they don't have any data, how can we process them?
Absolutely. So I think the beautiful key lesson for any founder that's listening is always think about focus. What is your business? Is it a software company? Is it deep tech health company, or is it a logistics company? So stick to your strengths and try to find partners, outsource everything else. So that's the easiest way to then get a name for yourself in the category that you're building. Super interesting. So the other question that I want to know is, every business, like you said, you have 66% margins and you're constantly working on improving that for the customers. So how do you then, everyone's looking at top line as their KPI, but other than that, what are the few KPIs that you've decided that you'll track, and how should a founder or a founding team think about what are the North Star metrics? How should we think about that? Tell me a bit about that.
I this is my favorite topic because I used to be a product designer, so this is very close to me. I would say first 2 years, just don't look at any metrics. Not like literally, but I think that the most important part is to talk to your customers. So, there were times of the year that I was the only person doing the customer support and our hotline. So, really like speaking with people, we have this, we still do it actually. We have this phone number, right? And we have a phone in our office, and whoever picks it up, it's their job to resolve the issue from our customers. And honestly, most of the people will just write you to your support email or submit the support request through some online form. Only a couple of people like call us every day. It's not a lot of people, so it's pretty effective. And this way, we are bringing a lot of feedback into our process as a startup. And I would say this is the most effective way to improve the product early on and understand your customers. Because if somebody yells at you over the phone, they probably have a serious issue, right? So so we should fix that. So this is the qualitative part. Now, the quantitative part. I think you need a certain number of users to make sure that the data you are looking at are reliable. And I'm not sure if Macromo is at that point yet. So I think we are now in the stage where we are switching from the qualitative metrics to the quantitative ones. So we have mixed panel. We look at our marketing analytics. So I think we use a tool called Triple Whale for that. So for our business, the mobile app is the most important thing. So we track 30-day retention, which is now at 39%. That's over an
Very, very
industry
nice.
standard.
Yeah.
We look at
Yes.
session length. So our median session length in the app in last 30 days is about 1.2 minutes. And that's also a very long time for somebody to spend in an app. And we also track other metrics you would expect in a mobile app. In addition to that, we track the marketing metrics, right? Because we are an e-commerce business, we are selling those test kits. So we want to know if I put $1 in, how much, or euro in, how much we will get.
Take out.
So, so our CPA metrics that we follow So, of course, we run online ads. So we look at, how every campaign performs. We run some email automatizations through Klaviyo. So we look at that as well. So yeah, two sides of the business and two different approaches. But I wouldn't say we do something like special. I don't think we have a scale for that yet.
Let's say, I mean, every month something new is happening in a startup, right? Something is either breaking or something is doing very well. So in terms of that, let's say you've had a good engagement, or your average retention, 30-day retention is great right now. What if in 1 month suddenly it goes down? Let's sort of look at summer, everyone's on vacation, it goes down. So do you then reprioritize, saying, okay, we need to do something to bring users back to a certain level? Or is it or do the KPIs that you track stay the same every single month, every single quarter?
So, our business is seasonal. People
Mm-hmm.
don't care about their health that much during summer. So,
Yes.
based on our experience from the previous years, we know that, the end of Q2, Q3 are just not good for us in terms of
Mm-hmm.
sales. And then Q4 is phenomenal because people tend to buy our test kits as a present for Christmas. And then in January, people have their New Year's resolutions. They want to focus on their health, and they also buy our test kits. So, you see, it's seasonal. I think it will change once we introduce the subscription and run it for a longer time. I think our goal with this is to bring in more stability into our revenue, because right now it's seasonal. And we, I feel like you just like can't be too reactive about certain things, because it could be just, the weather is nice outside and people don't spend as much time looking at their computer screen. If the metrics are bad for 3 weeks, maybe longer, then you should probably do something about it. In terms of marketing, we are always trying something new, and I think that's something I learned in this company, is that, as in marketing you need to be more reactive. In product, not so much. You need to focus on your strategy, make sure that the product makes sense as a whole, and that you have a solid roadmap. So yeah, it depends if you're looking at product marketing or sales. There are, I would say, different approaches to different areas of the company.
Answer just like a founder or a consultant, I would say. But something interesting is, it's it's not always necessary to have that knee jerk or a reactive reaction to anything, any slight changes in the metrics. I think I completely agree with you on that. Now, let's sort of jump back into the challenge. So the question is, what's been the most difficult part of building Macromo? Have you ever felt, or has there ever been a day that you felt, why am I doing this? What am I doing? So tell us a bit about that. How did you handle that situation then, and what did you learn from that?
So, when you start a startup, you are always in the survival mode. I would call it
Mm-hmm.
survival mode, because you have a definite runway. And so that is your monthly burn rate. That is basically the money I have on my bank account divided by the burn rate I have every month. And so that's in a way very hard, because you are hiring new people, and couple months down the line you don't have any money to pay them a salary. And it's like this for every startup, and we are still, I would say, partially in the survival mode. And so what happened to us, and I think we could foresee it but we did not, is that we fundraised our very large pre-seed round, and we felt like we will be able to fundraise a seed round couple months down the line. So I would say we were burning quite a lot of money. We made a lot of progress during the months where we had a larger team. So I wouldn't say it was wasted money. I feel like it catapulted us. We were able to develop all of the amazing services you can use right now. So there was a combination of things. We founded a company in 2021, and during the time, it was very easy to fundraise. Then in the next year, we were self-funding, so nothing happened. And then the year after that, we raised our pre-seed round. And then we wanted to raise a seed round this year. However, during the time when we finalized pre-seed round and when we wanted to do seed round, the market shifted quite significantly. Valuations are lower, people don't want to take as much risk, and VCs behave like private equity. So even though we have amazing product, which is innovative and has customers, has quite a big revenue for a pre-seed company, it's still a big risk because, well, we are selling a physical product. We are a B2C company. There is no stable MRR. And let's be honest, me and my co-founders are quite young, and we are in Europe, where people are conservative. So let's say the fundraising was not going well for us. We got a couple of term sheets, but we were not happy with them. And so we decided to not take it and to not fundraise at this time, and maybe fundraise later, or figure out some other plan. So we said, okay, we have this quite nice revenue from selling at home test kits. And we could turn the company profitable, which will give us unlimited runway, and we will not fight for survival anymore. But if you have a startup that is burning a lot of money, and now you decide, all right, this will be a profitable company, so this completely changes the business plan, right? Because the business plan for startup is, well, I will be burning a lot of money till Series A, and then I will either sell this company or do something about it. It will reach a growth stage. Now we had a company which had none of this and was burning a lot of money. So, we had to fire a lot of people. We had to optimize everything. And yeah, it was pretty hard. Also, we had to ask our existing investors to put more money in, which is not a good situation to be in as a founder. So yeah, that's a challenging part, but we were able to do these changes. And now the company is ready for further growth. We have some amazing partnerships lined up. And I believe that if we decide to fundraise, we are in a much better position these days.
I actually want to dig deep into a few aspects of what you said. So, the first thing is yes, there was a funding winter and everything changed completely. And you were right about VC investors behaving like PE investors, asking for more and more data points when it's a very, very early, young company. But in spite of all of that, Eva, when you had term sheets, you said no to them. So, how did you make that decision? And was it hard to make it? Did you have a conversation with your co founder? So, tell us a bit about what was that moment like? And have you ever regretted not taking any of those term sheets?
No, because some of these term sheets were really bad. I would say if we would take them, it would there would be a high chance we would lose a control of the company. And we didn't want it to do that. So no regrets about not taking the term sheets.
And so, if you have to sort of generalize it and give like 2 cents or some advice to any founder that's raising, especially female diverse founder, on what about a term sheet makes it funky? What about it is too unfriendly? 2 or 3 things that you felt was odd.
So there are standards. I believe that Y Combinator has good ones. In our country, there are standards made by a couple of legal firms, and I believe you can find different standard term sheets and standard convertible loan agreements and so on online. And if it has anything different than those standard term sheets, it's probably not good for early stage company. Because as an early stage company, you can't, would say, you can't guarantee anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you are looking at more like grown-up businesses, when they are fundraising, some of their conditions in the term sheets are tied to their revenue or like other business metrics. And as bigger companies, they are able to predict this better
Mm-hmm.
because they have
Mm-hmm.
years of data. And so I would assume that their predictions are accurate, and it makes sense to
Yeah.
tie the terms of the deal to the business performance. When you have an early stage company, you don't have a magic bullet. You don't know how much revenue you will have
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
It's impossible to guess. So tying anything to a business performance in pre-seed company is not a good idea in my opinion.
That's a really, really cool tip. Um, Now, so the next challenge or the tough part is firing employees. So, how did you deal with that exercise? Was it a pure financial exercise? You and your co founder started looking at the financial projections, your burn, and looked at who can be cut off? Or was it, okay, so these are business priorities when you want to return profit? So, I'm going to keep these functions, I'm going to let go of these functions. So, yes, by the end of the day, they're numbers, but then how do you make that decision, because these are early employees, there's lots of emotions involved, you do everything together. How did you find the courage to do that?
So, I don't think these are numbers, these are people. And so I wouldn't call them numbers. On the other hand, these are people working in tech, and so I would assume that young people working in tech can find a job for them in, a couple of weeks, maybe months. And also they are working in tech, so they probably have financial resources to sustain themselves. So it's not a big deal for them personally. I think that's something I had to sort of understand, that, I'm like not responsible for financial well-being of the specific person. It's their responsibility, and they choose to work in a startup. So that's how I thought about it, right? Now, when it comes to how we make the decision, well, it was clear we were burning way too much money. So we just said, okay, like, what are the most important things? What are the responsibilities we want to keep, and that's basically how we made a decision. Also, the first thing we did, even before we like started to fire people, is to just cut our salaries to zero. So I think that that's important for anybody to do as a founder. Like, your salary is just the easiest thing you can cut out.
Mhm.
And then, of course, like tools and things you don't need. With people, we were 25 at the time, and we ended up being 7. So you see, it's
Wow.
a huge,
Yeah.
huge difference.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I decided to talk to every person individually. Uh, and I'm not sure if it was the best decision. It wasn't easy because, some people were fine, some people cried, some people were yelling at me.
Angry.
Yeah, I was chatting with a SumUp co-founder, or like we had like I would say founders discussion, like a close circle. So basically, he is like a super successful unicorn founder. So he was, giving advice to me and my fellow friends who are like early stage founders. And he was saying, yeah, like, if you are doing layoffs, 80% of people will be fine, and there will be 20% that will be mad at you. And I can confirm that most of the people won't care. There will be a
Mhm.
couple of people who are really affected by this, and it's not good. And I think what you can do as a founder is to try to find a solution for them. For instance, you have a lot of founders friends who are always hiring, so you can try to find them a new job.
Mhm.
You can give them more stock option. You can agree that, maybe you will pay them later once you fundraised. So yeah, but what I wouldn't do, and I know that some founders do that, is to like have people employed and tell them, yeah, I will pay you salary next month, and then next month you don't pay them, and then, they are 3 months without salary. That's not good for anybody. So, if you know that, okay, it's I don't know, 15th of February, and I can pay them the rest of the February, but I can't pay them in March, then let's just tell them, now, give them these 2 weeks. They won't work anymore. Like they will just finish up
Absolutely.
some things, and then let's not not I would say try to say them some sweet words if you can't pay them. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
I think that's perfect. It's one of the toughest things to do in a business. I know a lot of my founder friends who've been through this exercise, especially some businesses through COVID, some businesses post COVID. I almost call it the refounding moment, where you have a business, but then it's almost like turning a new leaf. You're a completely new setup. Your numbers look different. Your business model and priorities look different. But that being said, it's always tough to part ways. But I think at any point in time you need to call spade a spade. There's no point in kicking the can down the road. It only bites, it only hurts all of us and the business. Cool. Last question before we go into the last section. I'm very curious to know, Eva, how has your product experience helped you be a good founder? What are the skills? So this question is for anyone that's been a product leader, been a product person. They want to now become a CEO or a co-founder of a company. What are some skills that can help them, or any mental models or ways of thinking that can help them be a good founder?
I'm not sure. Every founder is different, right? So, for me personally, it was important that our app is beautiful. We have a great design system from day one, and we have a beautiful website from day one. And I'm obsessive about it to the point that I would just hunt people because we have a wrong typeface or a wrong color of typeface somewhere, and it can be like the least important thing. So I'm not sure if that's the best approach, because you can have a very scrappy website and very scrappy product and it can still work perfectly. But I think it's something that is like very unique to our culture, and to our product, that it's pixel perfect. What I had to learn personally, and I'm not sure that every product leader has this issue, but at the beginning, the user experience was more important to me than the business side of things. And now that sounds super strange, right? But for instance, we had this huge fight because I wasn't willing to let us collect email addresses during onboarding and then send marketing communication to our users. So that's pretty ridiculous, right? But
Yeah.
I was convinced that people will be happier without marketing communication. Um, Now I would just like slap myself. That's so not how the world works. You need marketing communication. You need as many
Mm.
email addresses as you can have. And you need
Mm.
to send people email newsletter 3 times a week. So yeah, that's one of the like personal
Mm.
issues I had because I was coming from product.
Well, thank you so much for that. The last question for the podcast is, what excites you about the future of personal health?
What excites me? I'm very excited that it's now finally becoming a popular topic and that there are influencers who are making it popular. Like, I mean, mainstream popular.
Mm.
Now it's cool if you sleep 8 hours every night. I remember a time where it was not cool and where, people were praising themselves for sleeping 5 hours every night. Hustle culture was strong, and it's not sustainable, right? So this is what makes me happy, that people realize they need to work on their health to have good results.
Well, thank you so much for that. I think even I'm excited about the new trend about taking care of one's own self and being proactive about healthcare. Thank you so much for your time, Eva. I think I learned a lot and some really cool information and stories that you've shared today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I hope I helped at least one founder. What I personally find interesting, or what helps me personally, is when I'm speaking with other founders and I can see they have the same problems as I have. Because it's cliche, but you feel very lonely because you can't say, like, you can't speak about these problems when they are happening to anybody, because it would make your position weaker. You can't tell your investors, they won't give you money. You can't tell your employees, they will be demotivated. You can't tell your parents because even if you do, they won't understand at all.
Yeah.
So, the only people you can share it with are other founders. So, creating a business will bring a lot of pain into your life, but it will also bring a lot of fulfillment. So hopefully somebody got at least something from this.
Well, we all hope that. Thank you so much.